Hello there, children. Let's talk about the governments of ancient Greece. Here is Greece, isn't it lovely? I know. So during the early stages of settlement, the geography of Greece led the people to settle in these isolated communities. These little guys are called city-states. The separation of these settlements caused these city-states to develop their own identity that they were extremely proud of. In addition to pride, these city-states developed their own laws, army, money, and most importantly for this talk, government. The first government that was developed in these city-states was a monarchy. Kings ruled ancient Greece from 2000 BCE to 800 BCE. Let's get a king up here. Nope, wrong king. Nope, wrong king. Ah, that's a good king. At first, these monarchs were chosen by the people, and when they died, another leader was eventually selected to take their place. But soon, kings demanded the power to go to their children after their death. Typically, the oldest son. Ooh, that's a good son. Kings made laws, they acted as judges, they conducted religious ceremonies, they led the army during wars. They also had these guys called aristocrats to advise them. The aristocrats had no real power, but eventually they realized they were stronger than the king and wanted to share the power. Soon enough, aristocrats overthrew the monarchy and took the power for themselves. By 800 BCE, kings no longer ruled most of the city-states. Okay, the government that did rule was called an oligarchy. By 800 BCE, most Greek city-states were ruled by a small group of wealthy men called aristocrats, or oligarchs. And these oligarchs had one major characteristic in common: they were wealthy. They spent their days hunting and their nights partying. All the while, the poor were working extremely hard and saw little benefits. For the most part, the oligarchs ignored the poor and passed laws that benefited themselves and the rich citizens. The rich became richer, and the poor became poorer. Needless to say, the poor did not like the oligarchs. The poor turned to strong leaders who promised to improve their lives. These leaders would eventually throw the oligarchs out of power, and they would take power by force. Okay, that brings us to our next government, called a tyranny. This is where power is totally taken by force. During the mid-600s BCE, many Greek city-states turned to tyrants who promised to change their government. Generally, the tyrant took power by force unlawfully. Most tyrants were military leaders who gained support by making promises to the people. Many tyrants made changes to the government that helped out the poor. Sometimes tyrants did not use their power to help the poor, but instead ruled harshly. Eventually, tyrants would be forced out of power, only to give way to a new form of government called a democracy. The people wanted to rule themselves. Insert democracy. Yay, democracy! By 500 BCE, Athens decided to try to govern themselves. The citizens decided to share in the ruling power. Athens developed an assembly which consisted of any adult male citizen. The definition of a citizen is very specific. You must fall under certain categories to be considered a citizen. Okay, these citizens could speak in the assembly, vote on new laws, or other proposals. Athens' democracy was called a direct democracy because all citizens had the chance to vote. And that's it, boys and girls. There are 4 of our governments in ancient Greece up until democracy decided to stick around. That's all I got for you. Here are some sources. Thank you. See you next time.